Hi there guys, I'm Nikhil from Grady Tech and this is the complete review of the Vivo V21. By the way guys, I've already posted a dedicated video for the unboxing where I've given you a quick unboxing, initial impressions and the complete specs. So you can check out that video for the complete unboxing experience. Now with that said, this phone is available in India in two variants. Base variant is priced at 30,000 rupees. It comes with 8GB of RAM and 128GB of storage. Next variant is priced at 33,000 rupees and it comes with 8GB of RAM and 256GB of storage. Now I'll start off the review with the design and build, which I think is the most highlighting feature about this phone. Well, nowadays most of the phones in this price segment, or usually most of the phones, come with a bigger screen, bigger battery. Yes, they obviously look better and have better battery life, but when it comes to practical usage, at the end of the day, everyone really wants a phone that they can comfortably hold in a single hand, which is lightweight and gives a pretty decent battery life. And when it comes to that particular aspect, Vivo V21 definitely nails it. This phone is pretty sleek, has a thickness of 7.3 mm and weighs just 177 grams. And that too with a pretty decent battery life. So when it comes to the overall design and build, Vivo has really nailed it. It fits pretty comfortably in the hand, doesn't feel all that heavy, and the form factor is really perfect. Besides that, on the backside we got a 2.5D curved glass with a nice matte finish, which can prevent smudges and definitely gives it quite a premium look and feel. Now, when it comes to the hardware department, this phone comes with all the basic sensors. It also got Bluetooth 5.1. Now, here's a SIM card tray. There's no dedicated SD card slot, but we got a nano SIM slot and a hybrid SD card slot. So you can either use two nano SIMs or a nano SIM and an SD card. Honestly, 128GB of space should be more than sufficient for most normal people. And if you really want more storage, I would recommend you to get the 256GB variant instead of adding an SD card. Next, unlike many other phones in this price segment which go with a side-mounted fingerprint scanner for cost cutting, this phone actually comes with an in-display fingerprint scanner. Well, the technology isn't new, but it's definitely pretty handy and it's much more preferable than a side-mounted fingerprint scanner. As for performance, it's to be expected. Fingerprint scanner works really well and unlocks the phone almost instantaneously. We also got the face unlock feature, which once again does a fantastic job. In good lighting conditions and even in low lighting conditions, it unlocks the phone within a second. In complete darkness, it still works, but takes about 2 to 3 seconds. As for the auto brightness sensor, it works without any issues. So overall, in the audio department, I really don't have any complaints. Now when it comes to the display department, this phone has a pretty large 6.44-inch E3 AMOLED display with Full HD Plus resolution with 90Hz screen refresh rate with a peak brightness of 800 nits. Well, it does come with a dewdrop notch instead of a punch hole design, but at the end of the day, it's still an AMOLED display with 90Hz screen refresh rate, which is definitely much better than other IPS panels in the same price segment. So in the display department, once again, no complaints. I just wish it had a punch hole design. Now when it comes to the cameras, this phone has really done a great job. On the rear, it's got a triple camera setup with a 64MP primary camera with optical image stabilization, and for selfies, we got a 44MP camera with optical image stabilization and with dual flashlights, which is pretty rare to see on phones these days. These are some sample shots, and as you can see, cameras are really good, especially the primary rear camera and the front facing camera. As for the pictures from the rear camera, colors look vivid, they're pleasing to the eye, and colors are close to reality. As for the sharpness and brightness, they are great. As for selfies, once again colors are close to reality, skin tones look good, and there's no excessive software processing going on, at least on the default settings. Overall, selfies do look pretty impressive. Now these are some wide angle shots. Once again, photos look pretty good, same as the normal footage, but with much more wider range. As for portrait shots, edge detection is good. There is a slight post-processing for the skin, but at the end of the day, it looks good, and once again, colors look a tad bit more vivid. As for portrait selfies, there's no excessive processing. Colors and skin tones are a bit brighter than normal mode, but end results are pretty good. Edge detection is also pretty decent. We also got a dedicated macro camera, and these are some macro shots. Once again, you can take some pretty good looking macro shots. Now, this phone also has a dedicated night mode, and these are some sample shots. Colors are close to reality. We get pretty accurate colors. Sharpness is also very well balanced. With the night mode on, sharpness and brightness has definitely increased, and the photos obviously look much better. Just for reference, these are some sample shots taken with a wide angle camera in low lighting conditions. Now when it comes to video recording, here's a quick sample footage from the primary camera. Footage looks pretty good, colors are close to reality, and the stabilization is pretty decent. There is a slight bit of focus hunting issue, but it shouldn't be a major problem. Now this is a sample footage recorded at 1080p using the wide angle camera. Footage looks good, colors are close to reality, and once again, stabilization is pretty decent. This one also has the ultra stable mode, and here's the sample footage. Footage looks pretty nice, color reproduction is also pretty good, and the stabilization is definitely better than the regular mode. But obviously the footage is much more cropped. Now on this phone we can also record video in 4K resolution, but there's no stabilization. And this is the sample footage. Footage looks pretty good. Whether it's the sharpness or color reproduction, phone has definitely done a pretty good job. To get a better footage, it's better to stay put or use a tripod. Now this is a sample footage recorded using the front-facing camera at 1080p resolution. Stabilization by default is pretty decent, and the skin tones also look pretty natural. Even for the front-facing camera, we got the steady face feature, which is just like the ultra stable mode, which crops the footage but further improves the stabilization. And this is the sample footage. Obviously, stabilization is much better and keeps the face or the subject pretty stable. On this phone, we can also record 4K video using the front-facing camera, and this is the sample footage downscaled to 1080p resolution. Footage is pretty good, stabilization is also pretty decent. Whether it's the sharpness or brightness, they are pretty good. Colors look slightly more vivid, but they do look pleasing. On this phone, we also got features like dual video mode, where we can record video using both the front and rear cameras at the same time. And here's a sample footage. So guys, cameras on this phone are definitely pretty impressive, and if you're someone who takes a lot of pictures and videos on your phone, especially using the front-facing camera, then you will definitely appreciate the cameras on this phone. Now when it comes to performance, this phone sports a Dimensity 800U processor with Mali G57 MC3 GPU with 8GB of RAM and up to 256GB of UFS 2.2 storage. These are the benchmark scores. Purely in terms of performance, this is definitely one of the best phones in this price segment. I've already done the gaming review for this phone and the performance is pretty good. You can definitely play games like PUBG without any issues. And by the way, there are no heating issues either. Maximum temperature I've seen after 15 minutes of continuous gameplay is just 40 degrees. And for 15 minutes of continuous gameplay, phone consumed about 4% of battery, which is pretty decent. So overall, whether you're a normal user or a heavy user, performance is definitely the last thing that you have to worry about when it comes to this phone. Now when it comes to the software department, this phone is running FunTouch OS 11.1 based on Android 11 with a September security patch. Well, it's definitely a skinned version of Android, but it's definitely much better than the previous FunTouch OS. Now the overall user interface has been pretty much streamlined, looks pretty consistent with other Android phones. We got the regular navigation bar, navigation toggles, we also got navigation gestures, and besides that we have a lot more customization options which Vivo phones are usually known for. So overall, software on this phone is definitely pretty decent and it's definitely more like any other Android phone out there. By the way, memory management on this phone is also pretty decent. Most of the regularly used apps are still on memory. Now when it comes to the audio department, this phone has just a single speaker at the bottom, but it's definitely pretty loud enough for media consumption, ringtones or alarms. Here's a quick audio sample. Now if you have observed this phone, you might have noticed that there's no audio jack on this phone. Yes, there's no audio jack, but we do get an adapter, and if you really like using wired headset even now, then you can use it with the adapter. And the audio quality over the wired headset is also pretty decent. Now finally, when it comes to the battery department, this phone is powered by a 4000 mAh battery. It supports fast charging and comes with a 33-watt flash charger inside the box. You can easily get up to 60% of charge in just about 30 minutes. Now as for battery life, I have been using this phone for about a week continuously, and by the end of the day, I usually have about 20% of battery still left. So battery life is definitely pretty good, and you can easily get about 4 to 6 hours of screen on time depending upon different tasks that you do. With that said, even if you're a heavy user who plays games, it can still last you till the end of the day. So guys, to conclude, Vivo V21 is definitely a pretty impressive phone, which is definitely worth the price. Now in the market, there are definitely some online exclusive phones which offer some better stuff than the Vivo V21. Let's say performance, bigger battery or faster charging speeds. But the most important selling point for this phone would be its form factor and cameras. So guys, if you're looking for a phone around 30,000 rupees with a good form factor for single-handed usage, which is also pretty light in weight with good cameras, then you can definitely consider the Vivo V21. So guys, what do you think about this phone? Do let me know by commenting below this video, and if you're planning to buy this phone, use the link in the description. It always helps the channel. With that said, this is Nikhil signing off. See you in my next video.